Hello and welcome to Overcoming Illness.
Amen.
I'm Paula Dennequit, your host and founder and CEO of Enrich Your Health. If you haven't seen any of my shows before, please go back and watch some of the replays. We've had some amazing shows, some amazing guests, one of which is here again tonight. Can't wait for her story tonight and what she's going to share with us. But let me just tell you a little bit about me if you've never seen me before. I'm a holistic health coach. Once again, I am founder and CEO of Enrich Your Health. I've been doing my business since about 2010. I suffered from multiple food allergies. Lyme disease, oddly enough, has fallen into my lap. I'm a big Lyme disease advocate. I do one-on-one coaching, group coaching, speaking engagements, and now my own TV show. I have digital recipe books, ebooks, things like that. I have free gifts on my website, so feel free to grab those. I have a 6-day immunity meal plan guide and a reversing illness ebook, so feel free to grab those. And full disclosure on this show is we do not treat, heal, any of that, any illness. I am not a doctor, nutritionist, dietitian. I am a holistic health coach. These are just our experiences, and just this is for educational purposes for you. So it's not medical advice in any way, shape, or form. So full disclosure, I just wanted to put that out there. So tonight's not about me. So if you want to go back and watch any of the replays or even the first replay where I really talk about myself and my experiences. But the show is just basically about people's illnesses and what they've gone through, what they're going through. And their stories need to get out. How we can help you if you're dealing with something. So Avis was kind enough to come on tonight after the last show. She told us about her story and what she's been going through, and we've come to some conclusions and some ideas and thoughts through the show of what she was possibly going through and what might be the culprit of some of her illness. So now she's taken some of those tips, I'm so happy to say, and has started further investigation. So I do want to say she didn't just say, oh, this is it.
That's right.
She did further research to kind of, what's the word I want, to get the evidence and to find out for sure if that's what's going on. It gave her the ideas to look into it further and research it further. So without further ado, I want to thank Avis for being here.
Thank you.
I tell you a little bit about her. She's going to go over her story a little bit from last show if you weren't here. And then she's going to tell us where she is now and what she's done and how much better she's feeling, because I can already see it. Always amazing. So let me tell you a little bit about Avis. Avis Cherie, MS, is a servant leader and mental health clinician who also happens to be a three times, which is amazing, international best-selling author. She's an inspirational speaker, multi-talent content creator. She's a brand of the self-proclaimed Miss Motivational Mogul Mindset. She's known for her infamous and purposeful motivational vlogs. She is also unequivocally one of the leaders of inspirational quote makers, which that's awesome. One of her most profound blessings to date is as founder of her 501c3 nonprofit organization, Touch Ministries, Inc. Outreach. Welcome back, Avis.
Thank you, Paula. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here for so many reasons. I have a new bond and friendship and sisterhood with you, and your offering and pouring into my life potentially help save parts of my life, if not my life, if it could have gone on and gotten worse. I want to thank you from the sincerest place of my heart. And thankfully, people, we, establish a relationship when we just pour into one another and pray. And I found that in Miss Paula as well. So when you find these coaches, I will say about health, when you find all these people everywhere on social media, be careful who pours into you, what they pour into you, and if they're equipped to pour into you. That's been my trajectory all my life, but meeting angels that want to offer up something like Paula did, holistically, nutritionally, and I had just met her, it's irreplaceable. So hold on to those type of people when they come in your life. So thank you. And that's sincerely, So since last time we first talked about this, I I suffer from chronic migraines and have been for over 20 years, but then something else came up in 2015, which they said was fibromyalgia. And Paula, when we spoke, you identified some triggers, some things, some signs and symptoms that I was discussing with you. And you were like,
Yeah.
hey, look into this, look into that. So
Right.
it brought us to Lyme, it brought us to mold, just trying to go down the list and scratch off things. And I had already told you I've been to so many specialists.
Yeah.
And then you have to fight to get to the correct testing. Because
Right.
I don't want to diminish what they do. It's like a superficial layer of testing, generic, general, just to make sure
Mm-hmm.
everything looks like they're on point. And then there's that going a little bit further and a little bit digging a little bit deeper. And so that's what they did. And you have to push for that, people. I just want anybody to know it's not easy. Don't let the door close on you at the first series of tests or
Yeah.
reports, because you really have to fight as if your insurance doesn't. It's almost like they take it like it's just that you're scared, that you're overreacting, and that your insurance won't cover it. But that's not so. It's just they have to categorize it for a reason and a need to get certain types of testing. So you want to keep pushing and don't take no for an answer. And that's exactly what I did since the first time I appeared on your show. Immediately, I had appointments scheduled. Um, when I got to the doctor's office, and I'll disclose, the nurse practitioner specialized in mold. I had never met this lady. She had never worked at the office before I went in. So
Wow.
you talk about divine timing, and
Yes.
it was just a moment, another moment, and that was being led and being obedient. So I'm not saying be pushy, but I am saying be pushy enough to be kind enough to tell them, listen, this is important to me. It's
Mm-hmm.
something mysteriously going on that's masking itself behind other ailments that's coming up or symptoms that's coming up. And I need you to go a little further because I can't do it alone. And that's how I really came off. And coincidentally, her father worked for the FBI for years, and he had to go to a mold training for a school that was infested with mold. And
Wow.
so he's been an FBI agent for 30 years, and it'll loop into the mold. He didn't want to go sit through the seminar for a month that the FBI sent him to. So he sent his daughter, which was the nurse practitioner I met. At the end of all of that investigation, it closed down a huge school district in Florida because they knew of the mold. So this
Wow.
is the lady treating me, going down her list of all the specialized tests that she knew existed, put
Mm.
the order in, something that wouldn't ordinarily happen. I mean, I haven't seen that happen. She
Yeah.
targeted certain specific things where they couldn't say no. And this is in my rheumatology's office. This is not my primary. This
Mm-hmm.
is not. And so I told her to give me a list of what the tests were because I knew I'd speak to you. And I just wanted to know. And so she did 12, and then she did a generic, and then she did a mold test. And so got me back on here today. And we got our results. I just got my results last Wednesday for the first half, and I got my mold test, which is positive. I got it Friday that just passed. Yeah.
Wow.
So I'll take a break and let you. that's the that's the build up.
Mm-hmm. Well, I do want to welcome anybody who's on here. I see there's like a number 2. I don't know who's on here if you don't comment, but whoever is on here, I do want to welcome you. So good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are, or if you're watching the replay. But I do recognize there's a couple people on, so thank you for being on. So that's amazing in itself. I mean, that was a whole and we were interceding. We were praying for divine
Talk
connection,
about it.
divine resources, and look at the power of prayer. I
We
mean,
intercede for together 3 weeks straight at 4:30 a.m. every day. And I always tell, even in the tips that I left last time we were on, I said, pay attention to your body, find a trusted confidant to support you and pray with you. I'm looking at the 3 tips, and the last one was move around, meditate, walk, swim. And the reason I said all of those things is because I live it, and it never looks like what it is. And I can't wait to share at the end of this the new 3 tips I have. But
hey,
just
yeah,
us interceding, us being tired, us both working, the importance of setting the tone of things
yeah,
when it's unknown. That's the part of the faith that we talk about, things
powerful.
that are seen and unseen. So you got to start it off with okay, I know this might be this. Paula's not against me. God is not against me. So I have to set my mindset on that. And I had to wait. I had that appointment way back then. I had to wait those 3 weeks. In that
Mm,
eerie?
how
3
is that?
weeks I had to wait for those tests.
Yeah.
I just thought about it. So yeah, the Mo
Wow.
tests, they didn't log it in yet. So when I went on Wednesday, I still didn't know. And
Hmm.
my rheumatologist was like, this is weird. It should be uploaded. And then Friday they made the call. And now I have to go to a pulmonary doctor.
Okay, so you're having some breathing issues?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So for those
Absolutely.
who don't know, mold toxicity usually mimics an autoimmune type issue. Like she was saying, she had chronic migraines and fibromyalgia, and so sometimes it's not mold toxicity, but if it is, it mimics an autoimmune issue. You'll have especially breathing problems. I mentioned it in another show. We had mold in my house. My mother had breathing problems. Was it from the mold? I have no proof, but I'd be willing to bet it could have been. Or it could have been a combination of things. She was a smoker in her younger years.
Mm-hmm.
So, it does mimic that. You'll have joint pain and headaches and foggy brains. It mimics a lot of different autoimmune. So you always have to ask yourself, is the environment around me, is it a toxic environment? Could be where you work. I worked in a prison. I wasn't where the inmates were. I was in an administration building, but they never cleaned those ducts. So every time air conditioning came on, I was a mess.
Yeah.
Because that's when the mold would come out. It didn't come out when the heat was on. It came out when the air was on. So I'd be like sniffling, sneezing, like, oh my God, get me out of here.
That's crazy.
Or even
Yeah.
in home. Sometimes
Yeah.
the window air conditioners would have a little bit of mold in them. After a while, it builds up. How do you?
Mm-hmm.
It's not an easy thing to clean.
Mm-hmm.
So I wondered it because I had bad allergies, bad seasonal allergies, and I'm like, every stupid window is closed. Why can't I? What I didn't know. I didn't know. I couldn't put
Yeah.
two and two together. Then all of a sudden it hit me. I was like, it's coming from the air conditioner. It's in it. It's the mold. So look at your environment. Is it where you live? Is it your home? Is it where you work? They do have a thing. You can look this up. It's called sick buildings. Lots of mold in these buildings. Old schools have lots of mold in them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like I said, they don't always clean the ducts. Another key is sometimes when you go to a hotel,
Yep.
especially conferences, I'd always be a mess at conferences.
Yep.
Why? That mold is
Yep.
coming from the vents, the ducts. So
Mm-hmm.
just wanted to throw that out there for people listening, like thinking, could I have mold toxicity or what does that mean? Like, I don't really know what
It's
that means.
sad.
And another thing I do want to throw out there, I mentioned it on my last show. I was just telling Avis about this. We've got 4 hurricanes coming. 4. There's going to be a lot of water. It already is in several states already. Texas, Arizona, Utah. I forget where else. Tons of water. We're getting more. And I know a lot of people, they're not going to move. That water may recede and it may not move. You've got to be aware of mold and mold toxicity. You've got to get your homes cleaned after that happens.
Mm-hmm.
I want to throw that out there. Mold toxicity is huge. Not to mention there'll be a lot of other illnesses that can breed from that water. But
Yeah.
I want to throw it out there because it's something many people they're not aware of, and they don't realize how horrible it can be. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that, but let's get back to you. How are you feeling now? What's going on?
Oh God, I'm sitting here thinking about what you're saying, and I hope people don't fast forward past that. I hope they rewind because the water. People have asked me like where it started, what happened, and what made me even have that discussion. But I've been in a house for 11 years that some things came up that were triggering, whether it was a previous leak or this. And like you're saying, with the hurricanes, there are professional people that come out and clean those things and the ducts and get inside the walls if you had leak damage. And so I was so naive to think, first of all, don't put your health and trust in someone else. Make sure that if you don't see follow up from those types of damages, make sure there's follow up. And
Mm-hmm.
as we get older and wiser, and not so busy, We pay attention to things, and it's your health is not to be compromised. Is all I can say. So I've been feeling like my focus has been resolution from day one. I've been proactive. My breathing has been a lot more restricted, but nothing has changed in my atmosphere. I'm in the atmosphere that is infected.
Mm.
My studios and things are at home. It used to be, I had two. I used to can go out a little more, but for 11 years, I've been here working from home. So it's been different as an entrepreneur. So that's number one. I'm the one that's home the most. So I've noticed my breathing being a lot more restricted just sitting here. It can sound like I'm huffing, and that's because, and I don't have asthma, so I sound like it though. But when people started talking to me over the phone and they're like, "Are you moving around? Are you going up and down the steps?" and I'm sitting still, that's probably started about 6-7 months ago when they did the series of tests
Mm-hmm.
um, to find out what was going on with something else. That's when I found out I had the antibody of the COVID, and they said I was a long COVID hauler last September. So I'm feeling good. Well, I'm a lot fatigued, and that has to do with one of the tests that came back, vitamin D deficient. A lot of people really need to check into their vitamin D.
Mm.
I'm at a 29. At first, I was 14, but adults should be at 50. So I have to take 1,000 units a day or 3,000 units a pill a day.
Mm-hmm.
I was like that before when my neurologist called it for the migraines. So I want to keep it kind of positive for people, but to overcome, you have to understand. And to
Yeah.
overcome, you have to overstand. So you got to get inside every report and medicine that you think you're taking for one thing, because they have a duality. They can do one or two or three different things and treat multiple things. So I'm saying all this because I'm processing with you guys. I'm processing and going through. So some days are a lot worse than others. I have to push.
Yeah.
The only thing that's bothering me the most is the fatigue and the bone and the movement being restricted. It bothers me more and more. So
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, that's how I'm feeling it, up to this day.
And you probably feel a lot better just knowing what's going on, like just having some sort of a diagnosis.
And that's the thing with the resolve. The minute we go into finding out something,
Mm.
speculating and not being like a hypochondriac, but like, okay, these are the possibilities.
Right.
Going back to the prayer and interceding part, you got to put that crown in your mind first. You got to put those thoughts in first, because
Mm.
what comes about is Wednesday when I went in, I'm not gonna lie, I was cooler than a fan, breezing into Wednesday, right? Wednesday came up for prayer. I didn't want to go back to sleep because I was ready to get dressed 7 hours before the appointment time. And it was because I was like, okay, correct your thought. You already prepared for this. You've already been in the resolve phase of this because you're already on the other side. So take that optimism and prayer and faith with you to your
Mm.
appointment, because it's going to meet you. And so I got there and I was 45 minutes early and they wouldn't
Oh no.
they were like, "Hey, sit down." So I sat in, and I know my doctor really well, and he's going over everything. He had 3 interruptions, and he never leaves his patients. So I'm saying all that to say we have to literally annihilate different components that's coming in to play with your mind as you're going through something that's difficult. Because I don't know if people know, but cancer and all those severe diseases were tested as well. So I'm walking in, I did a chest x-ray. I don't know what they seen. I'm walking in just like having to be ready. So
Yeah.
that was a big deal. And then not just to find out, but the mold and the vitamin D. A couple other levels were slightly off, but that's fixable without medication. So I'm good. I'm more
Yeah.
than good. I'm blessed.
I'll say this for the most part, from what I've seen, my research, my connections, it's rare to find people that specialize in mold. I will say that. It is
Yes.
rare. So, what are the chances that we prayed, we interceded, and God sent her an angel that specializes in it because it's
I've
rare.
I've been with that office for 8 years.
Mm.
Never met Debbie. Debbie has never worked there.
Mm-hmm.
Never. And when I came in, she identified herself. What was interesting, she said, "I know you." And we had masks on. And I was like, "I don't know you, Debbie. I know everybody at the office. There's only like a handful, maybe 3 or 4 people." And she said, "No, I know you from your outfit. I have the same one." That's how it started. And we were able to burst down the comfortability doors to why I was there, debrief, talk about fashion, talk about this, and go into mode. And then she said, "Do you mind if I sit with you for a while and I see you versus your doctor today?" And then she told me
Mm-hmm.
the backdrop to her specializing in mold and being trained by the government to take down a school district that had kids sitting in an infested school. So, yes, intercession is real. And
Yeah.
even when I didn't correlate it at the moment, realizing how powerful it is for prayer to know that that goes and that's activated, it goes with you everywhere. Doesn't have to, people think it cuts off. My angels were already on the other side, her being one. That's part of them being dispatched to you because what she was giving me was blowing my mind so much I felt like I was frozen in time. I was like,
Right.
I said, "What? Nobody gonna believe it." Like, who has time to do that at a rheumatology office? Number one. So
Right.
yeah, yeah. So
And sometimes God's done this with me. He'll point out something that He wants me to wear from going somewhere or something, and that's why
I
it'll
had
start a conversation.
I made up my mind to wear white, and that day I wore these colors, and she had the exact outfit. It was green, yellow, and something. It was bright because I wanted to be. I'm always on
Yeah.
purpose. So I said I'm going to wear colors today because I want to feel vibrant. And so
Mm-hmm.
whatever I do is for a reason. So I went in there like this big colorful flag, and she was like, "Did you get that from Amazon?" I'm sorry, but it was the cutest thing. I was like, "No, it's
Oh,
not," but I seen it, and it was
wow.
a vibe that was just like, "I got you."
That's awesome.
That was
Wow.
day of testing. Yep.
Now, have
Yep.
you tested your home too? Have you?
I did.
What's going on with the home?
The home test came back positive after like 72 hours. And the first 2 days, no, day and a half, it was building, it started growing. And I put it in a neutral area. And I have 3 levels, but I put it in the main level when you first come in. I'm like, let's see if instead of putting in a bathroom, something small quarters, let's do the big part. And I set it on the table and it just started to grow. And then on that like third day, it was disgusting. But everybody, my husband had talked to some people at the department store. We talked to a couple of other people, and they were like, "Well, those tests that guarantee they're reliable." And I could have actually sent that to a lab. That's how good it was. I got it from like Home Depot or Lowe's. They were
Mm-hmm.
like, "Oh, that's not reliable." When you talk to other people that's in the
Yeah.
business, you're going to find mold, certain levels of mold in your house because everybody has been exposed to mold on a day to day basis. We get that, but sometimes you don't have enough time to slow down and like you slow down with me and we're patient enough to say, or you were actively listening. Let me say that. You were actively listening,
Yeah.
and then you didn't surmise, "Oh, I already know what this is." You were patiently and actively listening to hear cues for your gifts and your skill sets,
Right.
and we married that in the conversation. And this is what's come out of it. Really, like this is no
No joke.
gimmick or anything. This is
Yeah.
really what's my life right now, and um, so yeah, that mold test, I didn't have to send it off. I actually took the other ones back because we bought 4 because I was over it. I was
You're like,
like, yeah, I
yeah.
was like, I don't even want to know where, you feel violated, kind of, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
You
So,
do.
what do you have to do about that in your home?
It's another thing with resolution, guys. Resolve, placing it in my heart once I pursued it. There's only a couple of things to do. One being is calling the department of not hazmat, but department of something that's over in like unlivable housing situations and conditions and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So once you get involved in that, you have to have a resolution on the other side. You have to have a plan B, C, D, and E because
Mhm.
they're going to come in and do what they need to do. And if
Right.
it's not in your favor or you can't remedy that quickly, you're going to find yourself displaced. So
Mm-hmm.
my thoughts after the first show, my appointment was scheduled. I'm already, looking at different territories to move, different states to move. but everybody knows it's not that easy sometimes.
No.
So we're in prayer. You know, people don't know that behind the scenes, but yeah, you got to be strong, hopeful, faithful, and trusting throughout all of these things, not just the one thing. It's like, okay, I only got two options: test here or call a contractor, or two, get the state involved.
Mm.
Not because my house is subsidy. This is tenant landlord across the world. You get certain people involved, whether you own your home or not, it's going to be a situation because that's a public safety hazard.
Right. It's really, yeah, it's debilitating to anyone's health.
So I'm at a crossroad, not to stay or go, totally not. I'm ready to go, but crossroad into, the details of
Where,
that, waiting for God to be clear as
yeah,
day. This is what I said, do, and go. So in the process of that, I'm going to make sure I do my doctors. I actually started, I think I already told you, the activated charcoal you suggested.
yep.
Ah, I love it.